What's the best comeback to a "wow, you talk, you're always so quiet" response? My mother would occasionally ask my father why he didn't talk more in social situations, and my father would reply, "Sometimes it's better for people to wonder why you didn't say anything than to wonder why you did." Wait, you can see me? I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still that I become invisible to the eye. I was raised by librarians. Maybe when I'm around you and let them bask in it. I had a child ask me if I ever talk, and I said no, I don't talk, I think out loud. He spent months arguing with me that people couldn't think out loud. He would ask every adult he saw if it was possible, and they always said yes. Care to join me? Followed by an uncomfortable stare. I've posted this before, but I was teasing a coworker once about being quiet, and a mutual friend of ours piped up, "Maybe he's just quiet around you because he doesn't f***ing like you." We laughed about it, but I sure as hell don't tease people about being quiet anymore. I said this to my mom once. She had a friendship that she had grown out of, but was committed to checking in with the person via email and Christmas cards. The other person never replied. This made my mom so very indignant. All she would do is pick at her metaphorical scab of hurt of no reply when I asked why she was trying so hard to connect with someone she didn't like that much, or why she cared about whether this person replied or not. This conversation had a recurrence of once every 6 months for a couple of years, until I finally said, "Mom, she probably doesn't like you either." Not replying is a normal reaction for people whose relationships grow apart. She hasn't complained since. Start using sign language. You talk enough for the both of us. Quality over quantity. This isn't a retort, but I've often found that when a social group considers a particular person quiet, it's often because they are not listened to or spoken over in the group conversation, so they tend to stay quiet. I have a few beautiful friendships with people considered quiet by others simply because I engaged with them, gave them space to reply, and listened to them. From that we realized that we had cool things in common, and friendships blossomed from there. People listening to reply, not to hear and engage with what the person is actually saying, is one of our biggest shortcomings as humans. We just don't pay attention sometimes. I just think it's funny how some people can talk so much and say so little. A 10-second stare followed by just turning away. I did this to a girl I work with because she said I smiled too much. Made me kinda bummed though, cause after she said that every time I smiled at someone after that I wondered why TF I was even smiling for. As much as we want to be defensive when people say this, the reason why they point it out is because it makes them feel self-conscious. I've never really said much more than "yeah, I'm pretty reserved sometimes." They learn that it's who I am, not a reflection of how I feel around them personally. They see I've confidently owned it, and they end up respecting that. I definitely understand the frustration though. It's such an unwelcome shift of attention and this sudden pressure. Witty comebacks just read as rude sometimes though, even though their question reads as rude to us. I wish I could come up with some sarcastic comment on the spot when it happens, like "you talk enough for two," or "because I know how to listen," but in reality I usually just explain that I have a weak voice and am not usually heard, therefore get talked over, so I just give up on talking in general for that conversation. I'm also really shy around people I don't know. I know, right? You need to sell it with that amount of enthusiasm and volume. That person will never bug you again. I have problems with volume control. Well, unlike you, I know when to shut the f up. You never talk to me. Write "I am mute" on a piece of paper. Convince everyone that it's true too. No one plans a murder out loud. Yeah, I guess I'm just not a chatty person. 9 times out of 10, when someone says that, it isn't a personal attack. They are just trying to make conversation, and they go for the only thing they know about you, which is that you're quiet, because you never f***ing talk to people, so they can find something to talk about with you. Yeah, you're right, to be honest. I think it's easy to take it as an attack, especially if you're quiet because you're shy. But if you assume goodwill, it's best to just own it instead of coming up with a clever way to get back at them and win the interaction. Honestly, as childish as it is, I often just stick my tongue out. Well, if you have nothing nice to say, it's better to say nothing at all. Yeah, and what about it? Something along the lines of empty vessels make the most noise. Say something once, why say it again? If they get the talking heads reference, they're probably okay. I just like listening to others talk. It's not like I have anything to chime in with. Is my go-to. No need to escalate a situation. Because you feel offended, it just will suck more for you when you get tacked on as the asshole. Legit response. That is not some autistic misstep or edgelord comeback which you thought of 3 hours after the fact. I was more interested in what you had to say, or what you were saying was quite interesting, or I didn't want to derail the discussion with tangents, or I wholeheartedly agreed with the points being made, or I was jotting down the ideas being expressed, so I can do desktop studies of ways to implement improvements. I get that a lot at work during 3-hour pointless circle jerk meetings I spend doodling in my calendar. I usually get told during the agenda AOB that I was very quiet during the meeting, and they wanted to know if I had any points I wanted to raise. People must not be liking you calling out the circle jerk happening in these comments, because I found your comment under controversial. Completely agree though, despite it being a question to ask someone, having a snarky comeback just makes you seem like an asshole in the situation. I think there's a difference between these two scenarios. You haven't said anything and someone says you haven't said anything. You voice your opinion and someone pipes up, wow, you can talk. This is the perfect question to ask to see how Redditors don't know how to socially function with people in the real world. The amount of snark in this thread is enough to be labeled undesirable for any sort of social gathering. I've never gotten the wow, you talk comment. Usually people asking you're always so quiet, why don't you talk? My reply is always the same. I have nothing to add to the conversation and prefer to listen and observe. They usually say oh and have a look for a couple minutes, as if they are having some deep existential crisis inside. I feel bad every time. I'm silently judging you, rather than doing so out loud like you just did. One of us has to listen. Remember, the person probably just feels uncomfortable with your silence or has concern. It may be an uncomfortable question, but it doesn't usually come from a bad place. Just giving the real answer is probably best. I'm tired. I'm enjoying listening. I don't know much about the topic. I'm just feeling down. I'm thinking, etc. What the fuck did you just fucking say about me, you little bitch? I'll have you know I graduated top of my class in the Navy SEALs, and I've been involved in numerous secret raids on Al Qaeda, and I have over 300 confirmed kills. I'm trained in guerrilla warfare, and I'm the top sniper in the entire US Armed Forces. You are nothing to me, but just another target. I will wipe you the fuck out with precision, the likes of which has never been seen before on this earth. Mark my fucking words. You think you can get away with saying that shit to me over the internet? Think again. As we speak, I'm contacting my secret network of spies across the USA, and your IP is being traced right now, so you better prepare for the storm, maggot. The storm that wipes out the pathetic little thing you call your life. You're fucking dead, kid. I can be anywhere, anytime, and I can kill you in over 700 ways, and that's just with my bare hands. Not only am I extensively trained in unarmed combat, but I have access to the entire arsenal of the United States Marine Corps, and I will use it to its full extent to wipe your miserable ass off the face of the continent, you little shit. If only you could have known what unholy retribution your little clever comment was about to bring down upon you. Maybe you would have held your fucking tongue. But you couldn't, you didn't, and now you're paying the price, you goddamn idiot. I will fury all over you, and you will drown in it. You're fucking dead, kiddo. I'm the quiet one in all of my friend circles. I like to listen, formulate a thought, and speaking when it adds value. I've been in several boisterous work meetings, where everyone is trying to get themselves heard, yet I sit there quietly. The meeting organizers always look at me and say, you've been quietly taking this all in. Thoughts? It's kinda cool to have it noticed in a positive way, as most of the time it's taken as offensive from certain circles. I just don't talk to hear my voice. I talk when I have something to say. Hard concept, I guess. I talk when people want to listen. On that note, when in a conversation mid-sentence, and I notice no one's listening, I just stop. Even in the middle of a word. If it was important to them, they'll ask me to continue. I realized about 17 years ago that people just don't fucking care about what you have to say unless it benefits or concerns them. They might show interest, but usually they're waiting for their turn to talk. I'm not very fun at parties anymore. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Let us know your thoughts on this topic. See you soon.